Right, I'm joined by the Leader of the Opposition, Jeremy Corbyn. Welcome back to Radio Wave. It's been a couple of years. Good to see you back again.
Pleasure to be here.
And you've been out with the fracking protesters this afternoon.
Chris and I have just been down there to Preston New Road. Had a talk with a number of people who are protesting there and told them about our policies for the Green Industrial Revolution.
Cordrilla says it brings in millions of pounds to the local economy, hundreds of jobs. I mean, is that something worth sacrificing?
Well, I question the hundreds of millions and the numbers of jobs. I mean, clearly there are some jobs involved, but I think sustainable energy production provides far more jobs through solar, wave and wind, which is exactly what we're proposing. And last week I was in Liverpool supporting the proposal from the Liverpool City Region Mayor Steve Rotherham for a barrage across the Mersey, which will generate a great deal of electricity with no carbon dioxide emissions. Fracking creates gas, or gets gas, which is then burnt. There are huge CO2 emissions as a result of that. It is not sustainable in any way, and there are obviously issues about earth tremors as a result of it, and issues of pollution of underground watercourses, which are very hard to deal with once they've actually happened.
It's still jobs though, isn't it? And the GMB is very much for fracking, isn't it?
The GMB union has discussed this, and I've discussed with them the Green Industrial Revolution. They fully understand the direction in which we want to go, which is of sustainable jobs in the future through green energy, and that will create far more jobs than are created through fracking.
So what do you say to those who are working now in the industry on the Fylde coast?
I value your skills, value what you are able to do, and I would like you to be using the same skills and same abilities to produce energy in a sustainable way.
Coastal towns suffered for years, of course. What's Labour's promise to people in towns like Blackpool, Lytham, St Anne's and Fleetwood for future investment? We haven't done too badly in recent times. What can Labour offer?
I've just had a very interesting meeting in Southport early today with a group of businesses about development in Southport, and we discussed, as I have with other coastal towns all around the country, the issues of coastal town poverty, the way in which holiday patterns have changed, the need for investment, and above all the need for improved transport links, because these days people don't tend to go to Blackpool or anywhere else for long holidays. It tends to be short breaks, weekends, extended weekend or conferences. That requires a different setup. It requires very good and very efficient transport links, and it's that sort of development we're keen on. We're also keen on diversity on high streets, because at the moment high streets are being damaged by a combination of brand names moving in, high business rates and the out-of-town shopping phenomena. So it is about giving councils more power to encourage and support often quite small independent businesses, which when people are on a conference or a holiday visit actually quite enjoy visiting and using. And so I want Blackpool to have a bright future, but that does require more investment in infrastructure.
Okay, so what sort of investment are we talking about? We've seen in recent times the Talbot Gateway, the work on the promenade. You know, the town is looking like a building site, and no one's complaining about that. Because
no, all of that is welcome, and all of that is good news, because that is an improvement in the prospects of the town. It's also about improved rail links right across the north, and so we are proposing Crossrail for the north, which will make it much easier for people from all over the north to get over to this side of the Pennines.
Let's have a look at politics then. They say a week's a long time in politics. This last week it's all changed beyond recognition, hasn't it? Last Thursday, Boris took to the dispatch box for the first time. Mm-hmm. It was like a tornado had come through the House of Commons. The look on your face, how are you going to compete?
Well, it isn't just about individuals, it's about the policies we put forward. What I find interesting is that he went around the country in the leadership campaign to become the Tory party leader, promised 10 to 15 billion in tax giveaways to big businesses and the richest people, and then towards the end of his campaign discovered that he'd been part of a government that had been underfunding education, underfunding health and underfunding housing, and promised more money for that and also more money for police. At no stage saying how he's going to pay for anything. I think we do need to have some reality in this. We produced a costed manifesto in the last election, and we'll produce a costed manifesto in the next one. We are serious about investing in public services. He's been part of a government that's brought about austerity and inequality in this country.
But he's promising 20,000 police officers within the next 3 years. Is that doable?
He hasn't said where they're going to go. He hasn't said how he's going to pay for them. Obviously, more police officers are necessary, but also more police support services. So community police officers are important, as well as the backup services that go with it. We all need to live in a safer and more secure society, and that is achieved partly through improving public services and public facilities, particularly youth facilities, but it's also about investing in more police officers.
On to Brexit then. Are you now the Remain party?
We're a party that will do everything we can to stop a no-deal exit from the European Union because of the damage we see it does, and Johnson is taking us in the direction of saying he will do a deal with Trump which will lead to deregulation and will lead to, I believe, opening up our health service to American healthcare companies, which I'm completely opposed to. So what we're saying is we will oppose no deal, and we'll propose to Parliament that any deal that Parliament agrees to, no deal or whatever, I doubt they will, but they could, that we would say that should go to a public vote between Remain and no deal.
So a second referendum?
A second referendum. In those circumstances, we would support Remain.
But the people of Blackpool were quite clear in their vote that they wanted out of Europe.
They were clear in their vote on that, as were places all across the country. There were many reasons for those votes, and we're not doing a rerun of 2016. We're simply saying that people should have a chance to look at the reality of leaving the EU with no deal, which would mean a loss of jobs and investment, would lead to a problem over food supply and medicine supply, and would inevitably push us into a trade deal with the United States in which we would be very much the weaker partner. In case the government hasn't noticed, Donald Trump follows an America First policy.
Are you saying, though, then, that the people of South Shore didn't know what they were voting for the first time?
They knew what they were voting for, and they knew why they were voting for it. This isn't a rerun. This is simply saying that there are huge implications of leaving without a deal in which we will lose jobs in manufacturing, we will have the environmental and working regulations that we have undermined very, very rapidly, and the only show in town, as far as Johnson and others is concerned, is a trade deal with the United States, and we've seen the effects of those trade deals on their neighbours in Canada and Mexico.
OK, we're in the middle of the summer recess at the moment. You're very much on an election footing. You're touring the country at the moment. Mr Johnson has ruled out a general election before we leave the EU at the end of October. How soon after that do you have your hopes pinned on one?
Well, he might change his mind on that as well. He changed his mind on lots of things. We believe there should be an election to decide the future direction which this country goes. He's been elected by less than 100,000 people in the Conservative Party and has put in place a government on that basis. I think there should be a general election, and we will push for one as soon as we can get one.
Are you strong enough to fight him?
Absolutely.
Alastair Campbell was very scathing of you this morning on the radio, wasn't he? He says he thinks there's a danger that Labour's going to be destroyed as a serious, credible political force unless you face up to the reality of what's going on. Does he have a point?
No, he has no point whatsoever. Alastair Campbell has resigned from the Labour Party, and whilst I'm sorry anyone has left the party, we have 500,000 members. We have very strong policies of uniting this country, of social justice, of investment in education, investment in housing, and above all, industrial investment strategy through a National Investment Bank and regional transformation funds that will help to do something about the terrible levels of inequality between investment in London and the South East and the North West.
All good policies, but many Labour voters will say, well, we love the Labour Party, we want to vote for the Labour Party, but we just don't want to vote for Mr Corbyn.
I will go out and campaign on behalf of the party. I've been elected by the party to carry that message, and I proudly do so.
Mr Corbyn, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.